Sometimes realize there's nowhere.
You have tuned into Breaking the Mask of Depression with your host, Diva with Depression.
Welcome to Breaking the Mask of Depression with me, your host, the Diva with Depression. Guys, how are you? Do you hear me clapping? I missed you guys so much. I hope that everyone is doing well. There's so much going on in the world. I mean, so much. I don't even know where to begin. I'm not even going to begin because we'll be here all night. The crack house the administration is just driving everybody in the world crazy. The different illnesses going around and the weather and everything is just wild. It's like we're living in the Twilight Zone. So I hope that you guys are surviving well in spite of the chaos of the world. I have to give you guys update after update after update. What started out as a semi-breakdown break turned into a full-on downward spiral, if that's what you would like to call it. I know that I had shared often that I really wasn't doing it well for the past year, and it just seemed to get worse and worse, and the darkness took over. The monster won. And since I'm new to where I'm living, I don't know much about the psychological hospital spaces. And so I chose not to do that. I chose to try to fight it out. I'm still fighting. I have had some treatments added. I started doing Spravato, and some of you may have seen my updates on social media. I do have to add some more. I have been recording them, but I just have not posted them. I think that I'll just do a show on it and, share my updates during the show or, vice versa. But I am in my 10th week, I believe, going into my 10th week of Spravato, down to once a week. And so you do 8 weeks of twice a week, I believe it is. And 1 week after that, it's once a week. And then it goes to, after that, they evaluate to see where you're at. I had an evaluation 2 weeks ago, and I didn't feel like anything was working. So I was pretty discouraged. I am still a little discouraged because I took a chance on starting something new, and I was really, I don't get my hopes up high, but I was hoping that there would be some relief. And so, the place that I go to, the woman there is very, very helpful. And, she gave me some suggestions to share with my my psychiatrist. And so now we're in the middle of trying to work that out and see if there is a medication that works best with the Spravato treatment to try to get me some relief. So I did add a medication that she suggested, and I will say that for the first time in, I don't even know, I had the energy to clean, clear some space, really make a dent and stuff. And so hopefully, that will continue and I will get some fucking relief because I am tired, y'all. I mean, you just don't understand. I am exhausted. So let me give you the updates. Let's start. You guys know that in the end of 24, I relocated. And so I don't think that I have adapted to my new surroundings. I enjoy that. I am near family. I just have not found my space yet. Although I love where I live and things like that. I haven't gotten a car yet, so I'm not really getting around. I reached out to one or two mental health organizations for some volunteer options. They are not very good at getting back to you. And so, I'm sort of discouraged with that because I really did want to continue my volunteer work here where I moved to. And so I'm trying to decide on how much effort I'm going to put into working with these organizations, or am I going to try to figure out how to tackle the advocacy part on my own in a new state. And this is my third state since I started this advocacy platform, so I'm not new to what goes on when you are trying to break into a new space. But I think that with my last two opportunities, my last two states, the organizations were much more receptive to me helping them. So we will see where that goes. In the course of relocating in a year, just from the January 1st of 25, I have been sick several times. I had a sinus infection. I had an emergency gallbladder removal operation, which really, I don't know if I've ever shared on this show, but I have had 2 gastric bypass surgeries, and no one has ever said anything to me about my gallbladder. And then I woke up one morning to intense pain, and by that evening, I was at a hospital and getting prepped for surgery. So I had that. I had COVID twice last year. The first time, actually both times are from traveling. So, I'm going to just say that I got them probably from an airport or a rest stop, or the second time I got it was at a family reunion, and I went to the aquarium, and I know for sure that that's where I got it from. But so I think that I've had COVID about 4 or 5 times now, 4 times I believe, but twice in like 3 to 4 months is nasty work. And the second one was not kind. The second time last year was not kind. So that lasted a while, and I've had an ear infection and sinus infections. And then in 2012, I want to say, maybe 2010 or so, 11, I broke my elbow. And the doctors of Charlotte, North Carolina, decided that it wasn't broken, it was just sprained. So they kept wrapping it and sent me on my way. But when I moved to a new state, they said it's broken, and it's been broken for a long time. So now you have no choice but to replace your whole elbow. And so I have been walking around with a plastic elbow for years, since 2014, I believe, 2014. And so, but for the past year or two, I have felt like my strength has been deteriorating in that arm. And then I started having some serious problems with lifting. And when I went to the orthopedist here, where I live now, he's like, you have to that has to come out. And we have to replace that piece. And so what started as me just going in for a simple elbow replacement turned into an hours-long surgery where they had to take the piece out, recreate my elbow, and get a blood transfusion. I mean, all sorts of stuff. And mind you, I'm knocked out through all of this, so I don't know any of this is going on. But I do know when I wake up and I'm finally, come to, I'm like, well, I know that I checked in the afternoon. Why is it evening? So that's my next thing that I had to live with within that past year. Good news, though, that when I moved here, a month after I moved here, my oldest got engaged. And so I have been knee-deep in wedding planning. for the past year, and I am now a mother of a son-in-law and a son-in-love. I hate to say son-in-law, son-in-love, because I have known him so long. It really was just a natural progression, and I've loved him forever. So I'm so happy for my daughter, and I know that my family is just ecstatic. And we had a very good time, and the wedding was wonderful. It was a wonderful day. Bringing our two families together, although we have been friends with his family for over 20 years or so. But it was a wonderful day. I still am in the awe stages, still waiting for, I think we just got some of the professional pictures back, and I cried through that. And, I'm just a proud mom, and I am totally blessed I have two amazing children, and I am often in awe that I did that, and so, yeah, so this all tied into the break. I didn't have the mental capacity to handle being in a breakdown and trying to help my daughter plan her wedding and going through all of these health crises, and which some of them I'm still going through. But it's been a rough one, y'all, and I couldn't find the strength to come on here and talk. And as much as I love doing my advocacy work, and as much as I love doing this podcast, I could not find the strength to continue to do it. And so I said, okay, well, excuse me, I'll take a break for the holiday, and then I'll come back. And January came, and February came. I believe I did one episode in April. And then I just couldn't do it, guys. And I'm sharing that to say that it happens, not everybody understands how the exhaustion is overwhelming when it comes to a mental illness, and that, you have to save your spoons for what is absolutely necessary. And my spoons were needed to help my daughter. My spoons were needed to just stay alive. And that is something that many people don't say out loud, but I have been fighting. And I think I want to tell you that since my sister died in 2018, this is the first time that I felt like I'm losing the battle. The darkness is so intense, and it just takes everything in me to want to fight to survive, and when you live with a mental illness, and let's just say that's your number one, and then you add on life, and as we know, it could be very stressful, if the economy is horrible. So some people don't have jobs, and some people are like me, are on a limited income, and it's just overwhelming to live, and then if you have children or family members that you are in charge, you're the caregiver for families, all of these things add up. Then you can add some physical illnesses, and I do have some physical ailments that are chronic and painful. And so if you tell me to get up and fight, what am I fighting? Where am I going to fight, if I can't walk? So I did an interview, last week, and another one I did a couple of months ago, and I have to be as candid as possible, to let people know that that they're not the only one that's feeling like this. Like, it's really, really hard to, try to just, I don't know. You don't like to tell people that you don't want to be here anymore because they freak out. But the world has to understand that that doesn't mean that you're going to do something to yourself. It just means that you are exhausted past the point of exhaustion, and that it is taking everything from the top of your head to the tips of your toenails to even wake up in the morning. So please don't give me any extra shit about the things that I don't do in addition to waking up in the morning. And I think more of us have to start saying that to people. Like when somebody says, oh, well, why don't you do such and such? Fuck you. Just say that. No, I'm not doing it. Because it took everything in me to wake up this morning. I used my extra energy to maybe feed myself, maybe wash myself, maybe clothe myself. I don't have time for you to tell me to take 15 extra vitamins or, walk a marathon or, write in my journal or, read something inspiring or whatever. No, I'm not. Fuck you, because I just can't do it. And it sounds harsh, but that is the way that we may have to start approaching people, because everybody thinks they know everything and everybody thinks that they have the answer, and nobody is in your struggle with you. Nobody is in your brain to understand what is moving around in there and what isn't moving around in there. So I think that we may have to start using the F word. And I'm sure that you can find some other words to use, but we have to start being extremely honest with the people in our world about how we're feeling and what we can and cannot do and what our limits are and what our boundaries are, because there are no boundaries in the world right now. There's chaos in the world right now. And so if you can find some peace in your own world, outside of everything, then you have to be protective of it. One of the biggest things that has happened to me in 2024, I lost one of my sisters, and then exactly a year later, I lost one of my brothers. And so after his death in mid-2025, I really think that was part of the icing on the cake. Like going through two major losses in 1 year. And also trying to, be there for their family. My sister and brother, my bestie. This is her sister and brother, her biological sister and brother. They're not my biological sister and brother, but they're my family. And, just trying to make sure that I keep an eye on her and make sure that I'm there for her in the midst of trying to grieve these losses, in the midst of these illnesses, in the midst of, just in the midst of everything. And, grief is a stinky bastard. And I know that there are a lot of people out there are speaking out more about grief and its after effects and its lifetime of ups and downs. And I'm so glad to see that. More people are talking about it, but it doesn't have a timetable. It does what it wants. The grief is so much like the monster. It just shows up when the fuck it wants to. I'll give you an example. My daughter married my sister's nephew. And so as much as this was one of the happiest occasions of my life, it was also one of the saddest, because she wasn't there to celebrate with us physically. She has been in this, spiritually from day one, but she wasn't there physically to celebrate with us. And so as excited as I was and still am. It's always sad that she's not here with me to celebrate. And so, grief will just come out at any time. I'm at the wedding is the happiest day, and I had to sneak away because I was hysterical crying. I could not stop crying. So I was crying because I was so happy, but I was also crying because I was so sad. And I had to, try to rein it in a little bit. But grief shows up when it wants to. And so these losses were major to me. These are people that I've known for almost 50 years. And I am very, I am a loyal friend. And when I get a friend, your whole family is my friend. That's just the way it is. Everybody. My friends will tell you that. Like, I will be on the text chain with moms, dads, sisters, brothers, cousins, you name it. That's it. Your family is my family. When you become my friend, family, I'm taking everybody. And so, this was very, very hard for me. Very, very hard. And, so that just really added to the year that I was already having. So, guys, I don't know. I was hesitant. I really just thought about quitting, this whole platform, because I didn't feel like I could help anyone anymore. I didn't feel like what I do matters. I wasn't, getting any feedback. There was nobody saying, hey, where are you at? There was nobody, asking around, well, is she coming back? Where's Breaking Mask? Where's people with depression? Nobody. And so I got to the point where I felt like nobody really cared whether I did this or not. And so then, you start seeing numbers and, not getting accolades. And I'm not big on accolades, but you do want to be acknowledged for some of the work that you do. And I was starting to see that wasn't happening. And so I have really, really gone back and forth about whether I was going to continue this platform or not. And then having conversations with people made me realize that even if one person listens and one person decides to keep living, that is reason enough for me to stay on this platform and continue to do this. There may be some changes that I'm going to make. I haven't decided about adding a video component, but I will try to start doing more, snaps and little maybe TikToks or something like that. Try to get my face out there a little bit more. I will try. I'm trying to do more of writing, possibly getting these 2 books finally done. I said it out loud. I'm sorry. So now I got to do it. But I don't know if I've ever shared with you guys that I have 2 books. One is half written. I think I have 5 or 6 chapters already. And then the other book, the first book that I started writing, I have about 6 or 7 chapters of that. So, that just goes to show you how much these illnesses deter you. They stop you in your tracks. So I'm going to try to do that. I do have some great guests in mind to have on, so to talk to you guys. And I have met a couple of different people since I have been on hiatus that I would love to have to come on the show and talk to you guys, because I think that they have a lot to give. I'm here, and I'm glad that I'm here. I'm glad that you're here. If you have anything that you would like to share with me, or suggestions, something that you'd like me to talk about the show, because I do listen when people give me suggestions about subjects they would like to talk about. You can always email me at Diva with DEP, DIVA wdep@gmail.com. That information is on all my social media pages, which I'm always Diva with Depression everywhere. And so, please don't be afraid to reach out. If you want to message me, if you want to comment on a post, I love seeing stuff like that. And not do I just love seeing stuff like that, but I love trying to see who's listening, and who wants to be a part of this world, with me along on this ride. So please, please, please sign up, go to my website, sign up for the email list, message me, email me if you'd like me to discuss something that, maybe you're dealing with personally. Go back and listen to some of the episodes that are already out there. I celebrated 5,000 downloads while I was on break, which blew my fucking mind because I swore nobody was listening. But there's so many, there are episodes out there. You can listen to wherever your podcasts are. And you can also go on to YouTube, and they are available there also. So I thank you guys for listening and being here now that I'm back. I can't even tell you how long it took me to record this episode, that I had to get people to threaten me that if I didn't do it in time for July, that, there would be some consequences. So I did it. I sound like Dora. But I did, and I'm glad that I'm back. And hopefully this will be the start of a new season with more resources, with more excitement, with more just support from me to you and from you to me, because we need each other. That is the only way that we're going to get through this madness that is, number one, the world, and is, number two, our minds. So everybody stay tuned, stay well, stay peaceful, and I'm happy I'm back, and I hope that you are happy I'm back, and I hope that you are coming back, if that makes any sense. Okay? Take care, guys. Bye. Sometimes